some of the youth at their school and what are the things that they found out about food justice. So, Amy McIntosh, thank you.
I work at Argyle Secondary School. This is my second year as a kind of full-time teacher. Second year doing social justice as well. So this is all new for kind of me personally and these guys as well. So it's been really cool to be a part of this. So we want to thank Sophia and Judith for contacting us and reaching out to us and giving us this opportunity. So our first slide that we're going to look at here is kind of what we've been looking at as a class. Part of the learning outcomes for social justice is kind of recognizing your own identity and how we relate to different topics and social justice topics in the world. So this is more of a community-based one for us. And it's looking at different topics through different perspectives and lenses. So that's kind of what we've been focusing on. And we've talked a lot about food security and food sovereignty and the importance of making sure that food is accessible, affordable, and nutritional and healthy for everyone in our community. So that's one of our main ideas. We've also got a school garden that we're going to start working with. So I think we're working with Jordan this Friday from the Edible Garden Project. So we're really excited about that because I know everybody kind of wants to get in there and start planting, and we're working with the Harvest Project as well, so they're going to come in and give a presentation on what they're all about, so we're really excited about that. Our other two girls who unfortunately couldn't be here today actually put this slide together, and I was really relating to what Jen was talking about with kind of this image that we have as a society looking at fruits and vegetables, and if they're not perfect, that we won't buy them or necessarily look at them and just bypass. And when they were putting this together, they found this quote of, "There's enough food to feed the entire world 2,800 calories and 75 grams of protein a day, but between 20 and 50% of the world's food is wasted according to UN data." And one of the girls made a really great connection is, you know, we look at, she was referring to body image and looking at what's perfect when we look at body image now today. That can directly be related to food, and how if something doesn't look just perfect the way society prescribes it to be, then we don't necessarily look at that or we bypass it. So that was an awesome kind of connection that she made there. And they also looked at Canada as a whole, because we kind of look at community, nation, and global perspectives in social justice. And they researched Canada's national policy on food, and they actually couldn't find our official national policy, but we do have a strategy for food assistance and nutrition, sustainable agriculture, and research development. So they found that in our province alone that we are supporting more of community gardens and growing locally provided goods that we can purchase. So that's kind of one way that we went, is looking at our national and our community ways on how we connect with food security and food sovereignty. So I'm going to pass it off to our first slide here. And these guys kind of focused on 5 different topics of what comes to mind when youth are purchasing food or going out with their parents and buying food. So we looked at environment, price, labels, nutritional value, and additives, and kind of what their concerns are around that. So that's how we kind of broke down our project. So here we go.
I'm Tiana. Our group focused on the environment, and we really focused on the fair trade and like what's underneath it. And so fair trade really focuses on the human rights for better prices and better working conditions and protecting the environment. And within protecting the environment, we can maintain a sustainable environment for future crops and such. And fair trade promises nutritional and safe food which is under the food security. Sorry. And fair trade also values food producers and working with nature, and that's food sovereignty. And within our survey with the youth, our data that we collected was we found out that youth wasn't really aware of what fair trade was, and they weren't really educated about it, which we think we should kind of make aware of, because we're kind of like the generation that if we kind of take note of it now and make action, we can provide a better and sustainable environment for later on in the future. So, yeah, fair trade.
Hello, I'm Megan. Before our class started researching, most of us didn't know what antibiotics were being used in our meat products. A lot of us couldn't even tell the difference between free-run and free-range meat. We started to look these things up, and some interesting things came up. The industry relies too heavily on antibiotics to fatten livestock and compensate for unsanitary and crowded conditions in industry-sized farms, despite the guidelines for antibiotic use, which specified that they be used reasonably. And the main concern isn't that the antibiotics in our meat products will be transferred to us, but that they will increase the antibiotic resistance of bacteria that we all struggle with. Moving on to natural meat. The meat that is certified as organic comes from animals raised without antibiotics, hormones, or any other drugs or chemicals typically used in industrial agriculture. These products are becoming easier to find and demanding increases. While buying certified organic meat and poultry is one way to ensure that what you eat contains no hormones or antibiotics, some companies offer brands that are not certified organic, but are hormone and antibiotic free. Keep in mind that the label natural doesn't guarantee anything except that a product is minimally processed. 2 out of 3 students, didn't know that antibiotics were used in almost all of our meat products. Recently, restaurants such as like A&W are putting out commercials now saying that the meat is now without hormones, steroids, or antibiotics, which is awesome. And then 0 out of 6 students that we interviewed knew that what antimicrobials are. This is because we don't learn about them. We don't know what they are. An antimicrobial is an agent that kills microorganisms or inhibits their growth. And in a recent report, the World Health Organization declared its intention to reduce the overuse and misuse of antimicrobials in food animals for the protection of human health. Specifically, the World Health Organization recommended that prescriptions be required for all antibiotics used to treat sick food animals and urged efforts to terminate or rapidly phase out antimicrobials for growth promotion if they are used for animal treatment.
Hi, I'm Savannah. My group and I decided to research GMOs because we never really talk about GMOs and we didn't have any knowledge on them. So we learned that GMOs in Canada, they don't have to be labeled on foods, but you are allowed to label foods that don't have GMOs, sorry. And so all the foods that do have GMOs aren't labeled in Canada, and they're fairly new. The first GMO approved product was approved in 1982, so it's only like 30 some odd years old. And they are banned in about 60 countries. Many of the developed countries ban them, but they are legal here in Canada and US. And we used to be able to grow a chicken in, 3 months, and now we can grow a full-grown chicken in 20 days. So that's what GMOs kind of like allow, which is that safe. And they do provide us with food security, but is it healthy? We don't really know if it's healthy or not. So our aspect is that we don't necessary, but we should learn more about them. We should become more aware about GMOs.
Hi, I'm Jacob. Our group wanted to talk about additives and preservatives because we really wanted to look at the nutritional aspect of what foods we were buying. And a lot of teenagers actually didn't really know about additives and preservatives, and we didn't really know until we started researching. But what's up there? Something to do. But yeah, we were just looking at what they are and what the side effects are. And we went around asking, and most kids didn't really know what additives and preservatives were. And if they did know, they didn't. Like no one really knew the side effects at all. So we wanted to bring that up and bring some awareness out. So like side effects of additives and preservatives, they've been proven to cause like mental and physical illnesses. If you're looking at like there's high fructose corn syrup and a bunch of other stuff, they cause like stage 2 diabetes, and you're seeing more and more kids coming out with ADHD and all these hyperactivities, and they've been directly proven that it comes from additives and preservatives. Additives and preservatives are in most of our foods. Additives just enhance the flavor. Like MSG, it's tasteless. It doesn't really do anything but enhance other flavors. That's an old one. There's a bunch of other preservatives that keep our food that lasts longer, and we just wanted to look at all that. For the youth aspect, 44% of youth say they look at additives and preservatives when they're buying food, which is a lot better than we thought it would be. That kids are actually starting to think about it, because there's a whole new wave trying to push being healthy and higher nutrition, and so yeah, especially getting the word out, making kids more aware. So yeah, thank you.
Hi, I'm Sasha. Our group talked about the price and how it's connected to everything in the entire line of everything. Because price not only affects the consumers purchasing the food, but it also affects everything from the production of the food to balancing out whether it's better to pay more for healthy food or get the cheaper stuff, which is not nearly as healthy, and how the price just ties into everything. And you have more access and more choices in mass productions, and it's more affordable, but is it healthy? That's the dilemma, that's the breaking point people have to ask. And it's turned actually more into a term of money rather than a term of health. And we actually we surveyed a lot of students in our school, and almost all of them said that they care more about price because they can't afford to pay for more expensive organic food, and that they usually just end up eating junk or something that's much, much cheaper as an alternative to eating healthy. And that's what it's come to, because the healthier foods have been harder to process and harder to distribute through the companies. So, and inflation's only bringing it more and more to the point where food is getting less healthy, and the more expensive food is the only healthy choice you have. And yeah, that's it.
So just to wrap up, one of the portions of our research is we went out and surveyed a bunch of our students at Argyle. All of these guys went out and they actually had voice recordings of questions that we asked youth, and we also provided a survey that they could take on their phones or on computers. So this is kind of a summary of what kids at Argyle had to say about what their concerns are when buying food.
Alright, my name is Brendan, and I'm going to tell you our survey results. Okay, so 45% of youth know very little about the global food crisis, which is a very low amount. I'm surprised more students don't know about that. And 44% were somewhat knowledgeable about GMOs. 44% think about additives when buying food. 54% are willing to pay more to eat healthy. 42% sometimes read labels regarding growth and production. 44% sort their waste into recycling, compost, and garbage. So at our school, we have separate bins for recycling, garbage, and compost, and they're in every classroom. So we don't have big garbage bins out in the hall anymore. They're all separated. 58% of students rarely grow their own food or shop at community gardens. And the youth view nutritional values as most important when buying food, followed by the price, labels, environment, and waste. So food waste is really low on students' concerns when they buy food and when they consume it. 54% of students know the difference between free run and free range. And 49% of students or their families use recyclable bags when shopping, which is just bringing your own cloth bag instead of taking in more and more plastic bags. Thank you.
Basically, to summarize all of our research is that this is something that we should be talking about. It should be in classes. It should be part of our kind of cross-curricular teaching that we're doing to educate kids, because here's our future, and we need to raise awareness about these issues. So yeah, this was a very interesting project to be a part of, so thank you.